Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I have with me again in the studio today our friend, Mr. Archbishop Barrow. Archbishop Barrow is the Executive Director of Learning Impact and many other agencies you work with. I mean,
that's correct.
The autistic one is called
Thoughtful House.
The Thoughtful House. Autism Center, where they offer a lot of support for parents with autistic children, and you have done fantastic job in that, you and Kemi, your wife. But also, Omagbiche is a politician.
That's correct.
And you are involved in a lot of political education.
That's right, Father.
What is that, your book?
Let's Get Involved and Politeracy.
Yes, he has a site, Let's Get Involved, where he's constantly issuing out messages to educate, political education of people, and has published a book called Politeracy. Because I say that one of the big challenges we have is that democracy is founded, if we go back to the Greek world, is founded on educated citizenry.
Exactly.
When you have a population of uneducated, illiterate, or people can read and write, but political education is near zero. When you have a population of people who are not connected, who are disconnected, then you can't have real democracy.
Yeah.
Because democracy is the rule of the people.
And great education is really about teaching people how to think.
Yes.
So before we even start talking about political education or political literacy, what is the quality of the basic education? Does it challenge us to think, to analyze, to evaluate, to carry out what we call critical thinking,
and contribute to your environment,
or just to be docile, to cram and pass? And that's where, if you think about, the hierarchy of learning, you would see that we are still at a very basic level of learning, where the biggest goal is to cram and pass an exam, whereas we should be aspiring towards analyzing, evaluating, innovating, which is creating, which is at the highest level, So that's where the problem certainly lies.
You remember when we went to a university to do a workshop for the faculty, and I had cause to say to the university professors to say, if you do not get involved in this, if you do not shift your paradigm from this imparting knowledge, which means a content.
Yeah, you just push
content in, and when they regurgitate it for you give them marks. If you do not change from there, the world will pass you by.
And that's exactly what's happening.
And that's what is happening now.
That's why with the huge number of human beings we have, we have not really evolved to human capital. We've not created the capital out of the human being. So we just have plenty of human beings, but it hasn't become the capital that can create.
And in the modern world, I was hearing Jack Ma speaking. I saw a short video of him who says that, look, with artificial intelligence, we no longer need human beings to memorize all kinds of facts. We don't need people to sit down and study the history of Ishekiri people.
We can just program a computer, write an algorithm, and it will figure it out.
So we don't need to bother our brains with all that. What we need is innovation.
Exactly.
Creativity. Which is only the human being that can do.
Exactly. That's what makes us distinct from the rest of the animal and mammal world. Exactly.
Now, coming to, we shall have time to discuss our education and the handicaps in our educational system. But I'd like us to discuss the Nigerian crisis. Which in the last 1 year, and particularly in the last 8 months, from January to now, Nigeria has been going through some of the most trying times in its history. We had a terrible time between 1967 and 1970 when we had the Civil War. But while the Civil War affected very badly people in the southeast, up to Bendel of those days, most of the rest of the country, many children grew up not knowing anything was happening.
Exactly.
Because we didn't have access to radio, of course, or TV or whatever.
Or social media.
So life was peaceful in many parts of the country. But in the last how many months?
The theater of war is everywhere.
Theater of war is every
it's
part of the
backyards.
country. Every part of the country.
Yeah.
To the extent that those who have the means to have plan B are perfecting their plan B.
That's right.
The 2-3% of Nigerians who have capacity to do plan B are perfecting their plan B. Some have even left. And those who believe in self-determination, the champions are leading their people and say, look, we want our own country. Whether it's the southeast or southwest, and so on and so forth. Well, some of us are from the middle belt, and it is so difficult for us to have our self-determination because where are we going to go? However, while all this is happening, and we are hearing of hundreds of young people being kidnapped every day, hundreds, and we know of hundreds of people who have been kidnapped for months, not yet released.
And years.
And years, like Leah Sharibu and Chibok girls. And years, not yet released. We are hearing of tons of people, hundreds of people being killed. Then billions being given to bandits. You know, if you calculate the amount of money that bandits are making from innocent Nigerians.
From kidnapped
victims.
Money.
Yeah. So the country is at war in some form. We are experiencing a moral equivalence of war. The number of people, we are told, the number of people dying every day, some figures were out recently, the number of people dying per month in Nigeria, even countries at full-blown war, such number. While all this is happening, I don't know what you have to say about this. The young generation, and I'm talking of people of 15 to 35, 40, many of them are spending their days and their weeks and months purely on entertainment, having fun, watching reality shows,
gambling,
bet, whatever, all kinds of things, gambling away their lives, gambling away their future, laughing away, entertaining themselves. Then we watch social media. What are the kind of discussions that dominate social media? Vanity, vainglory, who has bought Lamborghini for a 10-year-old child or 5-year-old child, who has bought something for a Bentley for his girlfriend, which girlfriend has, who is chasing who? Who has dumped his baby mama and gotten another baby mama.
And of course, all of this is still not just on social media, that it's also being mainstreamed, even in traditional media.
Because traditional media now, they now have what's trending. They now have what's trending on social media. And so they now comb the social media and bring these things to the
conventional.
What used to be what? Tabloid.
Exactly.
In traditional newspapers. We used to say, oh, there is in the UK you have the Guardian.
Yes, the Guardian.
And then you now have some soft
cells. Exactly. But now we can't tell the difference between what is a soft cell media outfit and what is a traditional or conservative outfit.
I think in an attempt to be relevant to young people.
Certainly.
Attempt to be relevant to young people, some traditional media are now lowering the bar as to what they can
and it's a typical thing in Nigeria. We always like to lower the bar around everything. So there's that always desperation. You know, if I give an example that is a bit outside, think about something like Uber, for example, ride shares. It's only in Nigeria that you do a ride share and you pay cash. There's no country in the world where they allow it. So we like to do this Nigerian thing. We say, since it's in Nigeria, let's do it according to what Nigerians want. But is what Nigerians want always the best thing?
Always the best?
Certainly not. If not, Nigeria will be Singapore.
Yes.
So there's something that we need to interrogate.
Yeah, I mean, why are we always lowering the bar? That's the point.
Yes.
To say, look, there are media outfits that over the years have distinguished themselves for responsible journalism, where there are certain things about decency, public decency, and modesty, who should maintain those standards, even if many young people are not following. Because by the time you attempt to be trendy, you won't know when to stop.
Exactly.
And let's leave to social media, which has no serious control.
True, yes.
Let's leave them to do what they do.
And let us focus on.
So that people like me and you, who want who don't want our sensibilities insulted,
and don't want to be distracted,
who don't want to be distracted by vanity and the celebration of vanity and vainglory. We can then fix our attention in those media and then be sure that the discussions going there are respectful.
Think about this. I sell newspapers, Father, digitally. And one of the things we found is that, so everybody is saying, oh, they don't want to read a newspaper. They just want the snippets on social media. And they don't understand that the newspaper has analysis. It has content. Yes. It has things that are deep. So isn't there something deep that you want to help your business, to help your life? All we want is
headlines,
and
they see those headlines and they react.
And they have not read the content. They've not read the content. And of course, in journalism, there's always that thing about hyping the headline, making the headline look interesting to attract people. Is
it interesting? Sensational.
Exactly.
And often the sensationality is negative, meaning it has to be about some scandal. Mm-hmm. It has to be about some violence. Mm-hmm. It has to be, so you take the newspapers and maybe 10 out of 15 national newspapers are talking of some violence. Mm-hmm. Now, and I say that very day, if you look closely, there will be some wonderful things that have happened in the society that should be reported.
Yeah.
But it's not sensational.
Exactly. That's right.
It. So this sensationalism, mm-hmm. which is very preponderant in the social media, like you are saying, is coming into
the mainstream.
Now, while the country is going down, mm-hmm. deeper and deeper into the pit, because that's the way I describe it, mm-hmm. the young people, I'm in my 60s, mm-hmm. The young people who have hope of living in the next 40, 50, 60 years are just spending a lot of their time in entertainment. And perhaps the most thriving human enterprise in Nigeria today
is entertainment.
It's not agriculture. Mm-hmm. It's not education.
Mm-hmm. It's not technology.
The
proper use of technology.
It's not. It's entertainment. And I am afraid, genuinely afraid, that when you spend most of your day, most of your life in entertainment, very soon you get depressed.
Yeah, because if you think about, so what is the entertainment? What are we showing? What's on TV? So you're showing people living in big houses. You are showing people driving fast and big cars. You are not showing. And how many people in Nigeria does that really represent? How many people is that their reality?
Yes.
So whereas, for example, when I was growing up in the 80s, we were watching programs like Zebrudaya and so on and so forth.
With a lot of lessons.
With a lot of basic content.
We're watching Village Headmaster.
Ordinary human life. You know what I mean? The basic family values. A family sitting together, a community struggling, someone selling food items, a teacher wearing short knicker. That's what it is.
The interesting thing is that those people who were behind Village Headmaster, they were highly educated people.
Of course.
But then they decided to set the setting, the context is the average Nigerian.
So I'm always worried about, and I say this to my wife all the time, I'm always worried about content that is always very flashy. Why does it always have to be people speaking with an accent, people living in beautiful houses and swimming pools? Is that the reality of Nigeria? It certainly isn't. So how are we using media to tell the real story and to galvanize people towards what needs to be done?
I am a student of psychology. And I would like the people who are behind all these things to know that when you keep projecting this unrealism, this fake life, where the actors and the musicians are renting
private jets, yes,
renting limousines, renting Porsche cars and so on and so forth to show themselves as whatever. What is going to happen is that the people watching are salivating. And as they keep salivating for what is not possible,
and they don't get it,
what will never happen for 90% of the people,
98%, Father,
what cannot happen for 98% of the people, then your depression is going to follow.
Exactly, that's it.
It's like I'm a pastor and I preach that if you come to my church, you become a millionaire,
And
right?
you've been going to the church 5 years.
And you've been going to church 10 years
Yeah.
and you can't
Not
pay your
in
house
fact,
rent.
it's getting worse.
You can't pay your house rent.
Yeah.
What will happen is that there will be depression. So we are priming our people for a life of depression, which can then lead to drug addiction.
And then even the people that are these celebrities, as you follow their lives, sooner or later, they have entered the depression themselves. So even the person that you are looking up to on television, you suddenly are now reading about how that person's life has also gone south.
May not be all of them, but
yeah,
quite
but
a good
you see
number.
a number of them. So
Yeah.
at the end, even all that vainglory, where does it lead?
Reason is that this plastic, shallow life is not what we should be showing our children.
Exactly.
At least not the much we're doing now.
Yeah, there should be a balance. There should be a significant overweight in values, in things that are moral and ethical. And that's how it always was. So we wonder, how did we get here? So as a child, there was always entertainment, Father. There was always some entertaining program for young people. It was always there, but it wasn't the biggest thing. It wasn't everything.
One of the psychological impacts of this excessive entertainment, and those entertainments, especially if you even go to computer games and the children's entertainment, the things are changing so fast in the scenes, so fast that after watching this kind of things for years, many children begin to suffer what they call ADHD.
Yes.
Attention
deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because how do you tell such a child for whom images and scenes are changing every second to sit down for 1 hour
in the real world and watch a teacher
and to sit down in the library for
slowly
3 hours
teach something or to read? Yeah, it's real. In fact, you mentioned autism, and in one of the things that we do with autistic children and families is to discourage television completely, because television is competing for the engagement. You see, in autism, you want to bring a child out of the world where they are in so that they can engage with us. Then you put the child in front of television, then that is engagement.
Yes.
So you as a human being, you are very dull.
You are too dull.
You are not interested.
And part of the reason why young people suffer boredom.
Yes, that's part of it. Yeah,
I'm bored. Because the programs they are watching, which are not the real life, things are changing so fast that to now sit down with their father, to now sit down with their teacher, it is boring.
It's boring. That's it. So we have over-sensitized our youth and our children.
It gets even worse.
Yeah.
When people are used to this entertainment, all-round entertainment, morning and night, all through, then when they come to church, like traditional churches like my own and your own, when they come to the traditional churches, they find everything too boring.
Exactly.
Somebody said that our church boring, and I said, but to worship God is boring.
But Father, that is why even like what the media people have done, so the church people have also adopted a stance to jazz up the Sunday service, so that it is not boring, so that it raises the level of excitement. So we bring in a comedian, we bring in we bring in a motivational speaker, so that they'll say, next Sunday,
But what they don't remember is that when Jesus Christ was in prayer all night,
yes,
that was not a jazzed up session.
It wasn't a jazzed up session. Yeah.
And to connect with the divine.
Yes, it can be jazzy.
It can be jazzy. And it's not entertainment.
Exactly.
And all of worship cannot be praise worship.
Exactly.
We have people going on a 30-day retreat, quiet time. Quiet.
Yeah.
And that is how encounter with the divine occurs. We are told that Elijah went how many days in the desert? 40 days. 40 days and nights. And there was nothing in the dry desert.
Exactly.
To imagine that you can encounter the Lord, have a serious encounter in this jazzy disco-like kind of thing, you perhaps.
And then if you come back to the question you asked, Father, about things are going wrong in the political, in the social space, in the civic space. I mean, in the countries that have made progress in this world, you see that higher educational institutions are the pivotal point of transformation. You want to campaign in a decent democracy, and you are going to universities. That is where the intellectual people, that's where you are making your arguments. You know, even debates take place in America, for example. A lot of their presidential and gubernatorial debates take place in university campuses, in Columbia University, in Harvard University. What has happened to our educational
even
system?
In this country, you want to find out, people like Ode Ofemu, people like Patutomi, a lot of the people who became active in pro-democracy association, they were
socialized.
They were student union leaders.
When it was good student union, not the one that we have now that has been hijacked by evil politicians, who I call politicians. Yeah, because that's what they've done now. So that whole student union thing is all enmeshed with cultism and yahoo. So at the end of the day, they are just doing the bidding. And what you've seen over time, so if you think about student union leaders, Father, they are in politics, but they are the politicians that are now ruling over us.
So rather than having a critical mind, having been in the university for many years, having critical mind to subject the people who are ruling us to the rigors of democracy. They are part of.
They are just the tools that they use to prosecute their own political agendas. You know, and so all of that is gone. You know, so there are so many forces that are waging against the progress of our young people.
So, while the country is going down the drain, while the future is in peril,
the people who are
the future generation, those we call leaders of tomorrow, are busy entertaining themselves.
And I keep saying it that, you know, this whole thing about leaders of tomorrow, and I have become so skeptical about it that you can't just say because they are the leaders of tomorrow, so don't worry, when it gets there to be fine. It will not be fine. You have to do something now. You have to sow the seeds. And if we are sowing any seeds, we are sowing the wrong seeds. I was reading from an author in Harvard Business Review, and he was describing how when he was in Harvard as a student, he says Harvard now has gone so way better than it was in the 60s. So ask my father, who went to University of Ibadan.
Yes.
Has University of Ibadan gone so way better than it was in the 60s? And the answer, of course, we all know. We saw the pictures from University of Nigeria the other day. This is our reality, that we have desecrated education. You know, we have allowed money to be the pervasive currency in the lives and values of our youth. You know,
the sad thing is that some of those who superintended this desecration of education are still hanging around.
Exactly.
And unfortunately are still hanging around the corridors of power.
And they are still very relevant. In fact, everybody goes to kneel and bow before them before they make progress politically, apparently, in Nigeria.
This is where naming and shaming is important.
So think about how do we all, and it's a big issue, how do we all respond to such people? You know, so they walk into our communities. What do? We all stand up.
I say this is where
and reserve chairs for them.
Naming and shaming is important. Yeah. I mean, we look at our universities in the 60s and 70s, and then it started going down in the 80s. So we said, who was where? We're supposed to ask, who was where when these things began to go down?
Go down, yes.
Who took what decision?
Exactly.
Who was involved in some corrupt deals?
Yes.
Some people should be held responsible.
Yeah. And we've, you know,
and even certain honors that were awarded some people should be revoked.
Exactly. But we don't have the moral leadership, you know, and that's a problem.
To
superintend this transformation of Nigeria. So sometimes in leadership, Father, we say we are looking for the great man, you know, that maybe one day a great man will arise, you know, almost like the people of Israel waiting for Moses, first of all, and then later on waiting for Messiah, you know. So, but, you know, where is this great man? We continue to talk as we are speaking now and hope that somewhere there's that great man or that great woman lurking.
It has to begin from everyone, and democracy even begins from home.
Exactly.
The way decisions are taken and so on. You know, I must have said somewhere about a professor in one of the universities in the UK who came to class and was literally crying. Reason is that he was crying because he bought a new car. And the students were like, you just got a new car. What's the problem that you are lamenting?
Yes.
And the guy now told them the story, that he got a car, but that when they have been planning to buy a car, and that his wife and son wanted a particular car and color,
yes,
and he wanted a different kind of car and color. But since they are majority,
yes,
wife and son are majority, and he is minority,
so he has succumbed.
He had to succumb. He didn't like the car, but he had to buy it because majority carries the vote. Now that's how to nurture democracy. So in that society, that child,
it's already been socialized properly.
It's already been socialized
in engagement, in discussion.
Because the man knows the car will benefit the young man, the wife, and himself.
Yes.
So he had to swallow his own. He bought the car,
exactly,
but he had to keep his own.
And so that concept of he bought the car, but it is a community resource.
Yes.
So it's he earned the money.
Yes.
But the money doesn't belong to him. And so those are some of the basics of democracy.
That is how those are the building blocks of democracy.
Yeah, but we here, it is the person who bought the car with the money.
No, there were Nigerian students who sat down. Nigerian students said, bloody fool, if it is in Nigeria, you go and buy the car without mentioning it to the wife or son, and come and say, hey,
exactly,
I got a new car.
Exactly. And if when your turn reach, that Nigerian thing. So when it gets to your turn, then if you have the means, go and buy your own car.
On this note, we'll bring this segment of our discussion. We'll have to continue this discussion about the Nigerian crisis and youth distraction. We really need to dig into it and what can be done. I have been speaking with Archbishop Barrow, Executive Director of Learning Impact, and then the founder of the Thoughtful House for Autism, this autism spectrum, and how to help parents who are struggling with it. So once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Father.
We definitely need a second edition for this.